أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتحدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Alhamdulillah, we again are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the beginning of the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, the first few days or first day, alhamdulillah, was fruitful for all of you, beneficial for all of you in this new, unique month of Ramadan this year as we deal with this COVID-19 era. And last night, as an introductory to our discussion and overall to the month of Allah, we had a few reminders, a few practical steps and tips and tricks for me to apply for my family and inshallah for all of you as well. But as I promised, we will discuss and begin our topic of our discussion tonight. And before I actually get to what we want to talk about, let's first build up a little bit of a muqaddama or preliminary discussion, and then that will segue into our topic. We know enough to know, and again, I will go, a little bit kulli, a little bit absolute, and then I'll filter down into what I want to talk about these next 2 weeks with all of you. As you know, one of the purposes of our creation as a human being is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to be His Khalifa on earth. Right? Ja'alun fil ardil khalifa. He says to the angels that I want to make a Khalifa on this earth, a vicegerent, a representative. Somebody who will make me ma'loom and make me known to other existences. Now, why does Allah need to be known is not my discussion. If this was a theology class or a aqaid class, then yes, we can answer that question. But it's enough to know that we have a monumental task ahead of us. And one thing that I have mentioned before, and I'll say it again, that sometimes we think this khilafat or this vicegerency only belonged to one Nabi Adam several 100,000 years ago. The reality is that the entire responsibility of being a vicegerent of Allah, a representative of Allah, doesn't lie on Adam but Adamiyat, meaning all of humanity, which includes you and I. Meaning we also are, quote unquote, the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Having said that, it is important that we understand what that means. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this call? Why did He create us for this purpose? And I'll go a little bit back. I remember in baitulqayem I had an ashra, the rise and the fall of man, if you remember, a couple of Muharrams ago. I talked about initially the rise of man, how Allah now chose us to take on this monumental task, and how the angels were a little bit confused. That, oh Allah, this human, this earth that you talk about is only good for, khunrizi and fasad and corruption and bloodshed. If you want someone to do your hamd and thana, to praise you and glorify you, then we are there for you. We'll do tawaf of your arsh all day long and do your hamd and thana. At that moment, Allah says that I know what you do not know. Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun. Been discussed several times by myself and others in various platforms. I don't want to go down that route, but I do want us to understand that the confusion of the angels to a certain degree is justified. That here you have an unlimited, flawless, immaterial being like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and wishes to have a matter-based, maddi-based, flawed, limited human being to represent him. Something is off there, right? So on one side, Allah says, yes, there is this creation, there is this nation there for us, for you to lead, no doubt. But at the same time, there is another dimension of the human being that is worthy and capable of becoming my representative. Okay? So there seems to be a disconnect, at least in my eyes and my limited and my ignorance, that on one side we have this potential Allah sees. At the same time, I know خُلُقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, man is weak. خُلُقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ عَجَلٍ, man is haste, right? We're weak, we're haste, we're easily distracted, easily swayed by shaitan. All these things are there. At the same time, Allah now has seen something inside of us to quiet the angels down, that I know what you don't know. You don't know the insan like I do. I created this insan. There is a dimension to him that's angelic, that's spiritual, that's ma'anawi in nature. But still there seems to be a disconnect between what Allah wants for us and how he created us. Okay? So Allah then, of course, injects this qayyidiyya lutf, this command, or what's called, the law of his grace. Okay, Allah is latif, right? Latif meaning that, from his lutf, right? Like we have in Farsi, Hajira lutf kardi shuma. Like you were gracious towards me, like someone who is appreciative towards somebody. Allah lutf kardi, thank you very much. You were very gracious, very kind to me. I appreciate that. Allah being latif, for example, is Allah who's being very graceful, gracious to us. Right, giving us things sometimes that we don't deserve. How many blessings, even now, if I stop and think about the blessings that I have, be it the roof over my head right now, or my beautiful children, or my supportive and loving wife, or the love and the support of the entire New Jersey community, be it baitulqayem or baitulqayem, for example. All of that is something I don't deserve. I don't deserve it. But Allah, through his grace, has gifted that to me. Okay. Equally, when you try to bridge the purpose of our creation as Allah's Khalifa and us and our characteristics as someone who is worthy and is capable of bloodshed and corruption and facade, then there seems to be a disconnect. What connects these two things is Allah's grace. Please follow me very carefully. This is such a crucial discussion for us to have in order for us to enter my next, 13 lectures with all of you on this topic that I'm about to introduce to you. I know the suspense is killing you all. At the end of this lecture, again, half an hour, 35 minutes tops, okay? So we have this grace. What is this grace now? Allah says, look, to bridge the gap between these two, to help the insan reach that kamal, that perfection, I'm going to now send them and send them elements of tarbiyat. Now tarbiyat, let's look at the word tarbiyat. Tarbiyat, as we know in Urdu, Farsi, and Arabic, means somebody who helps to nurture or to flourish or to grow. Okay? For example, my parents out there in the audience right now listening to me, you do tarbiyat of your awlad, tarbiyat of your children. You do everything you can possible, spend every dime you have to make sure the kid gets everything that they need. Be it food on the table, clothes on their back, a bed to sleep on, education to sit there and learn from, everything, every sahulat possible for them to flourish. Right? Give them all the elements around them to flourish. That sometimes when the elements around them block their progress, you're the one that comes in and says, no, you could do it. So one of the things that Allah is known at inside of his essence and his existence is that he is a Rabb. Okay, just before the month of Ramadan, I had a class, online class twice a week on theology with only sisters. It's a sisters only class. And alhamdulillah, some of my sisters from New Jersey also joined me in that class. And we talked about the idea of a Rabb. Allah being Rabb, or his rububiyat. What does it mean? It's a very extensive discussion, one that I don't want to spend too much time on. But part of the root word of Rabb is Rabbawa, meaning he is our Murabbi. He does tarbiyat of us. It's not that he created us and then went on vacation, na'udhu billah, or left us alone to our vices and our virtues, right? فَلْحَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. I've divinely inspired between right and wrong and left. You know, he actually now went from a khaliq to a Rabb. He created us and now he's nurturing us. You give birth to your child as mothers, then you nurture them. Right? So I'm going to make this parallel today between the parents and Allah. Not that we're elevating parents to the level of God. No, of course not. But at least for taqreeb al-zahn, for us to understand it better, for us to understand what do I mean by this murabbi, it's extremely important. Okay? So part of the process that Allah now bestows upon us, again, through His grace, we don't deserve it, I'm sorry, nor is He forced to do any of this. No, of course not. Everything is out of His loving grace. Okay? Nobody is forcing my moms to wake up in the middle of the night to feed their child. No one's saying, look, get up, get up, get up. Your innate, your fitri love for that child forces you to get out of your cozy bed and pick him up or pick her up, feed her, give her a bottle, whatever the case may be, and put them back to sleep in the middle of the night, sometimes multiple times a night. Right? If you decide to let that child sleep the whole night or cry the whole night, no one's gonna stop you, but your fitri innate need won't allow you to do that. Same thing. Allah doesn't wish for us to suffer or for us to lose or for us to, let's say, fail. That's His what? That's the tarbiyat and rububiyat inside of us, inside of Him, that is causing Him to lead us. Now, one of the things that He does in His idea of Him being a murshid or murabbi, things that flourish, like right now there's a plant here beside me, okay? It's real, by the way, okay? And this plant now didn't come like that from the store, okay? It came as a very small plant, okay? It came as a very small plant. And I thought I'd turn off my phone, but I guess I didn't. If you can just give me a moment to turn it off, that would be great. I apologize for the break. This plant beside me, as long as I give it or my wife gives it water and sunlight and food to grow, it'll grow. Meaning my job is to what? Is to give it all the elements to grow. Meaning when it wants to expand now, put more soil into a bigger pot. Right? So this is its third pot now that we've changed. We added more soil, we gave it more water, and alhamdulillah, it went from a small little plant to now, one that's getting bigger and bigger every single day. Okay? Us as parents, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as our Rabb is no different. He places all the various tools in front of us to grow, to flourish, okay? To break out of our shell, to take the surrounding elements, absorb them, and grow while we absorb them, okay? When you think of the word flourish, for example, the word flourish. When I think of flourish, I think about the idea of even though there are elements around me that blocks my progress, for me to progress through those destructive elements is called flourishing. Please understand this point very carefully. The example I'll give is a very simple example. In my front lawn right now, I'm at home right now obviously. In my front lawn right now, when I open the front door, there's about 6 slabs of concrete. And then my front lawn begins. Okay, a little small patio there. 6 slabs, very heavy slabs of concrete. They've been laid down on top of dirt or soil. And then the grass grows from where the slabs end. All right? Now, when I go out there and I mow the front lawn, okay? Sometimes when I look inside the spaces between the slabs of concrete, there's maybe an inch or even smaller. Sometimes if I ignore those slabs, I'll see some blades of grass. Blades of grass growing in between the slabs. Please follow me very carefully on this example. Blades of grass, I'm already 15 minutes into my discussion. Blades of grass growing into or through those little cracks. Now think about it. If you are grass wanting to grow and you have this heavy concrete slab on top of you, essentially trying to destroy your growth, but there's always 1 or 2 blades of grass that find some crack between the concrete and find that one opening of daylight and grows itself in between that one small crack, right? That process that it does, meaning ignoring all of the elements, the heaviness of the slab, the darkness of the slab, the weight of the slab, and somehow still does what it does best. Grass is meant to grow. It grows even through those very difficult elements. That's called flourishing. That's called rushd, to grow, right? When this plant behind me grows when I give it everything it does, that's fine. But sometimes for it to grow when the elements are screaming for it to not grow, when there are elements to stunt its growth, then that is true flourishing. Okay? Sometimes when I see today's youth, elements upon elements to stunt their growth, to pull them away from Allah, to make them people who are individual based only, to make them people who worship their desires. And I see them grow towards Allah, there's nothing better for me. It's a beautiful sight. It's like that blade of grass in between the slabs of concrete that has just pushed its way out and growing. And that blade of grass is sometimes stronger than the entire front lawn grass is. It's gone through a lot to get to fulfill its potential. As parents for our children, from young all the way until even their parents themselves, we continue to give them all the elements to grow. In the beginning, there's physical elements. We give them food, we give them rest, we give them playtime, we give them all sorts of stuff. Then we get them to schools and we do their homework for them and we do their science fair projects and we help them with their assignments, all of those things. And then later on, when they have all those things under their belt, we give them akhlaqi, behavioral dimensions to grow inward. Right? Grow physically, grow mentally, grow spiritually. Take them to the center, send them for Hajj. I don't know, all these things, all of these elements now to ensure that we counter those destructive elements of growth out there that are there to stunt my child's growth. And now I have to I have to now resist those and give them all the wings to fly towards their potential. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built in his rububiyyat is no different. When we say Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabb in Du'a Kumel on Thursday nights, what we're really saying is Ya Murabbi, Ya Murshid, Ya Mun'im, all these elements he gives us and bestows upon us and flourishes us and grows us to get towards him. Okay? Now, that's muqaddamah. Come to point number 2. Point number 2 is that if you have multiple children inside your home and you are the murabbi of that child, it's important as the murabbi for you to understand that each child will grow with various differing elements. Okay? Let's say you have 2 kids at home, a son and a daughter, a girl and a boy. They obviously grow differently. They learn differently. They express their emotions differently. They prioritize differently. Everything is different. You as a successful murabbi must identify how much water does this grow. Look, again, I'll behind me in my setting here, one plant is there, another plant is over there. Each plant is a little bit different. Okay? When that plant over there, that plant is very forgiving. For example, if my wife or I forget, usually my wife forgets because I don't forget these things. I'm on top of things in my house, you have no idea. If I'm gone for travel, I come back. This bachata over here, this plant over here sometimes is sagging. A little bit of water, a little bit of love, kya hale, how are you? Salawat I blow on him. Then he begins to flourish. You can see literally within day, it's like, oh, thank God, Asad Bhai, you're home, the plant says. Right? Your wife ignored me, your kids ignored me. Okay? Sometimes that's all it needs. This guy, this heat guy behind me, I could sit there and give him everything he wants. He grows a little bit. Okay? Your kids are no different. My kids, I have 3 kids. Every child is completely different. Zameen Asman. Right? As a successful parent, I have to identify this person needs more affection, more love, more validation, more confirmation, not so much confirmation, a little bit of validation, to be left alone, to be babied, to have his hand held, she wants independence, he wants dependence, etc., etc., etc. Right? A failed parent is one who applies the same tarbiyat and is the same style of murabbi for all 3 of their kids. Okay? Fair enough? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also the exact same way. He knows what will help Asad Jafri grow. He knows what will help Misbah Zaidi grow. He knows what will help Mutahir Bhai grows. He knows what will help, let's say, for example, Shuja Bhai grows, or Iqbal Bhai grow, or Inaid Bhai, or Walaid Bhai. All these various individuals there, they have all their various elements of growth. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places everything on their path to grow. Okay? But, however, there are some things that are universal for growth. Same thing in your house. There are some things that are universal to grow. For example, it's time for salat. Everyone is wajib inside your house. You give the adhan. Everyone now prays. Mama, salat is not good for me. No, salat is good for everybody. Quran is good for everybody. Sitting down at the table, having a family meal together is good for everybody. There are some elements that are universal for growth. Okay? Universal for growth. Allah also identifies for all of humanity there are some universal elements for them to grow. Okay? Meaning for him to be a proper murabbi and a murshid and a mun'im, one who helps someone grow and flourish and bestows them and gives them blessing upon blessing, he knows there are some things that are universal. Okay? One such universal avenue of growth is the Quran. Okay? The Quran is made for everybody in terms of their growth. Okay? شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس. In this month of Ramadan, we have revealed the Quran. Why? It's a guide for all of mankind. Not just for the Shias of baitulqayem, baitul'asr. Not just for the Muslims of the world, or the Christians, or the monotheists, or the ones who believe in one Allah. No, for everybody. You're an atheist, the Quran helps you grow. You're a Shia of Ali Muhammad, the Quran helps you grow. It is for everybody. That's one of the universal things about the Quran. It is an avenue of growth for everybody. Okay? For everybody. Within that Quran, there are various avenues of growth. Or avenues or universal tools for them to grow. Yesterday, I think my audio halfway through the speech changed to the webcam audio, even though it should be the clip audio. I want to make sure that my device is okay. So don't mind if I keep looking downwards, and make sure that everything is being set up here. I don't want things to go a little bit astray like I did, like what happened yesterday. It's very tough. This is a little bit of a new for me as well. Talking to a camera is a little bit different than seeing the beautiful faces of the people in front of me usually. One person sleeping here, for example, or my Javan and my youth on the chair in the back, for example. I have Munkar and Nakir sometimes on my right and left in the baitulqayem member. But anyways, whatever the case may be, alhamdulillah, I do miss all of you guys, but this is also, the next best option. So, the universal avenue of tarbiyat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Quran. Okay? Fine. Inside the Quran, there are again avenues of growth. One of them are the stories that the Quran tells. Okay? The Quran has 200 plus stories. The Quran is not a storybook by any means. It's not meant to sit there and entertain us. Okay? In fact, with the exception of one story, the majority, if not all of the stories of the prophets and of the awliya and of the special individuals like Luqman, for example, there are bits and pieces of the story. The only story in the Quran that from the beginning to the end is related in some sort of sequential order is of course that of Nabi Yusuf, in Surah Yusuf itself. Right? From his dream all the way to the reuniting with his father. Okay? That is insequential. That's the only story the Quran now mentions from start to beginning in order. Everything else, be it of Nabi Shu'aib or Nabi Ayub or the Holy Prophet or Nabi Musa or Nabi Ibrahim or Nabi Nuh, are in bits and pieces. Okay? Bibi Maryam is in there, Bibi Asiya is in there, Luqman is in there, all sorts of people are inside the Quran. Various stories, Ashab-e-Kahf, for example, all these things. But it's not meant to be a storybook of entertainment. It's meant for hidayat. Which means, please, I'm getting closer to my topic now, which means that one of the elements of universal tarbiyat and universal rushd and growth for the human being are the studies of the individuals of these stories inside the Quran. Okay? Okay. If that's the case, then obviously if we want to grow towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to study some of the stories in the Quran. Okay? And unfortunately, and you'll excuse me if I upset anybody, we just have not spent enough time on the individuals who are mentioned by name in the Quran. I'm sorry. Us as Shia specifically, our history of Islam begins at Ghadir. There's lots that happened before Ghadir. And I get it. We have always been persecuted for our belief. We've always been asked to defend our 12 Imams and defend the Ashab and defend what happened in Karbala and defend the Ghibat of the Imam. And I get it. In the process now, we have begun our focus of Islamic history at the day of Ghadir through the event of Karbala to the Ghibat of the Imam today. Okay? The Prophet of Allah's 23 years of Imamat. Before that, Prophet Isa. Before that, Prophet Musa. Before that, Prophet Ibrahim. All of those amazing stories we've left for the kids in these small little cartoon books that talk about the Qissahai Anbiya, the stories of the prophets. Okay? When in reality, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has relayed these stories in a universal book of tarbiyat in the Quran means that these stories are for everybody. Young and old, black and white, male and female. Okay? So this being the month of Allah and the month of Quran, we are going to look at a specific story in the Quran across the next 13 lectures, and that is the story of Nabi Musa alayhi salam. Nabi Musa alayhi salam is that prophet that's mentioned the most in the Quran. Across 30 surahs, 900 verses on this prophet alone. Okay? And everything from the environment before his birth, to his upbringing in Fir'aun's castle, to his Bani Israel tribe, to every avenue of his growth. There is an incredible amount of lessons inside of this story. Okay, and I want to make sure that we understand the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the way that, one person said it beautifully, it's like a treasure hunt. Nabi Musa's story in the Quran is a treasure hunt. There are bits and pieces in Surah Taha, there are bits and pieces in Surah Anbiya, in Surah Qasas, in Surah this and Fulan, meaning bits and pieces you find a little bit here, like, oh, okay. Sometimes the same story is repeated several times in various parts of the Quran. Okay? Meaning as a parent, if we repeat ourselves over and over and over again to my child, this means what? I'm trying to emphasize this. Right? To the point where you end up saying to your parents, Mom, Dad, I get it, I know, you're right. That's how it should be. Why do you keep repeating yourself? Because it is of utter importance. Okay? So this is what I would like to happen from tomorrow. From tomorrow, I want all of you as a family to sit around, inshallah, and look at the TVs or wherever you're following my lectures. Have a Quran open, all of you. Have a Quran available. We're going to look at the story of Nabi Musa through the various verses of the Quran. Okay? And you're going to follow along with me from your respective homes. So sit in your couch, on your beautiful living room, inside of your pajamas, be very comfortable, have your Quran open. Everybody has their own Quran. If not, follow on the app, for example, okay? And follow along with me, okay? I'm going to do my best to relay every portion of the story, and then at the end of the speech, we're going to open the Quran and look at the various verses of the Quran. So you're going to flip through this surah and that surah, and I will guide you along the way. It will be a very Darsi-like environment, not a majlis type environment. I hope that's okay with all of you. The month of Ramadan is meant for a more Darsi environment. Dars meaning a more of a classroom environment. What I would love to see one Ramadan, when all this is over and I'm able to once again see your amazing faces and be with you, is for me to get off the minbar, have a nice whiteboard and some markers, and actually have a class, an open environment where you can ask questions, I can answer them just before the adhan of Maghrib. But right now we can't do that. But inshallah from tomorrow we're going to begin on the environment after Nabi Yaqub and the arrival of Fir'aun in Egypt, and then of course the birth of Nabi Musa. Okay? So I ask you to please support me in this. Go along with me on this. Let's try this, and I'll tell you why, and I'll be very upfront with you. I'll tell you why this topic, okay? You guys, you know me very well. Both baitulqayem and baitulqayem know me very well. I'm very particular about my topics. I rack my head over what topic to talk about, especially in the month of Ramadan and Muharram. It's very difficult to find a topic that I find is relevant. One of the beautiful things that has begun inside of my house, and I'm not talking about me at all, but I can't talk about your house. In my house is that I remember, when this first pandemic began and my kids now were at home from school, we were able to pray Zohar Asr by Jamaat. Usually my wife and I are there for Zohar Asr at home, but now my kids join me. And then at that moment, because we had a little bit of a flexible school schedule, meaning it was pretty much on their free time or on their own schedule, I would turn around after Zohar Asr, sit around as a family, me, my wife, and my eldest daughter, and we would read 4-5 verses in Arabic. I would begin a small little tafsir for all the way from Surah Al-Baqarah all the way down. Okay? And then the small ones, my 6-year-old and my 4, would sit there and kind of absorb and look at me, and whatever they could take, they would take. Okay? In the process, there was a discussion, and we got to a point in Surah Al-Baqarah that talked about the Bani Israel. Allah now reminds the Bani Israel about the various favors Allah has given them. Be it the fact that they freed them from Fir'aun, or they sent their savior Nabi Musa to them, etc., etc. That piqued the interest of my eldest child, right? Who are these Bani Israel? What is that story? Alhamdulillah. And then, my wife now had said, look, you and I will go through that story together. So at night, every night now, after Maghrib, a good 9:30 at night, okay, they would have a quick half an hour session, my wife and Misbah and my daughter, and they will go through the story of Nabi Musa. Okay. Now, once in a while, as I'm preparing for my lectures and in the room, I'm sitting there and I'm trying not to focus on the class. I'm just trying to let her have her moment with her daughter, but I'm also listening to the story. Okay. And sometimes when you hear somebody else relay it with their own level of passion, you become intrigued. And there were so many lessons I picked up. I mean, obviously the story is very well known to a lot of us, but there's so many lessons today, right now, in this pandemic era, that I thought, you know what, I have to go through this with my BQ family. Okay, every moment of Nabi Musa's life can be a lesson for you and I today, right now in this pandemic. And inshallah, as you know me well enough to know that while I talk about history and stories of the past, I always try to make it relevant to today and make that historical discussion a more current and prevalent one today. And that's what I'll do, inshallah, starting from tomorrow. So please have your Qur'ans ready. Come to my class and my dars ready. Open the Qur'an, have it ready with wudu, inshallah. As a family, let's now travel through the Qur'an together, extract lessons from the story of this amazing prophet known as Kalimullah, the one who spoke to Allah. In the process now, not just understand the greatness of the book of Allah, but now begin to apply it in terms of our own life today in this world. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to accept our qaleel efforts, inshallah, and to give us that tawfiq to truly understand your message and your book of Allah, and to apply it in this day and age when everyone else is in darkness looking for some sort of path. We have path upon path upon path to find our way back to Allah during this dark and difficult times. May Allah accept your amal, may Allah forgive your sins, and may Allah increase that tawfiq to serve Him in this month of Ramadan. In the end, please, if I may, ask you to please recite a Surah Fatiha for your marhumin, for my marhumin, the Shuhada of Islam, and for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors, inshallah. Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.